Welcome to Women in Leadership Talk, where you'll hear from successful women who are empowering other women with their stories of adversity, resiliency, and success. And here is your host, Vicki Bradley, founder and CEO of Women in Leadership Empowered.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Women in Leadership Talk podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'm going to kick this off by saying, after you've listened to this episode, please do leave us a review because that's how we get to grow the podcast. And I'm very excited to have Anar Shah joining us today. So Anar, welcome. Thanks for calling in and joining me for this conversation.
Thank you, Vicki. It's been a pleasure to be with you today here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. And I'm going to give our audience a little bit of background on you so they have a sense of why I've invited you to the show. So Anar is a media powerhouse with experience collaborating alongside many Fortune 500 clients with a booming direct-to-consumer products alike. She leads the charge at Background Noise. So I'm excited to hear more about Background Noise. She's overseeing the agency vision, operations, and client relationships while building new products and tools to resolve solutions in the ever-evolving, fast-paced advertising landscape. Well, isn't that the truth? There's so much movement happening, and especially now in our world. And just to give some highlights, she's had a lot of really incredible experiences in her background and partnering with a lot of great brands like Google, Fossil Group, NBC Sports, Amazon. Those are just a few. But I also want us to jump into today to talk about how you led that media strategy and activation for the Olympics in Tokyo. So let's jump in and let's figure out and talk about why you do what you do and how'd you even get into this kind of a crazy, busy, fast-paced work.
Yeah, absolutely. So Background Noise is a BIPOC female-led strategic consultancy that I co-founded with two of the most amazing people I know in this industry who are my partners at a day-to-day level. And our goal is to really turn those people-first insights into standout stories because as you know, Vicky, and I've heard it on your podcast before, there's so much noise out there in the market, and we really want to overcome that noise. And in terms of who am I and why I started this, so as an immigrant, a mother, an engineer, advertising was something I just stumbled upon, but it's the energy, being on my toes is what kept me here and falling in love with it all those years. So my journey started in India. I navigated STEM. I was obsessed with it as a young girl and moved through business school and somehow unexpectedly landed in the chaos and the creativity of the advertising world, and especially New York. New York's advertising world, as we know, is the hub of the world. Seen the hustle culture, lived through all of it, seen all the madness, but while the highs are really strong and great, I've also seen what it takes from you mentally, emotionally, been through that roller coaster, and it was great until I became a mom. And it's when I became a mom is when it cracked me open in the best way possible. And this is where my experiences changed and my priorities changed and Background Noise came to life. And from there, it's something that we are working on and building on constantly.
Amazing. So I want to kind of tap into what you just said about, I just fell into this. My kids are older and they're figuring out what those careers look like. And I think, society wise, we put so much pressure on people to know what you want to do. And we don't know what we want to do sometimes. So when you fell into it, what were the clues, Anar, that you went, yes, like this is for me?
Yeah. I'll take a step back because I feel like I can relate to a lot of young kids who often feel that they don't have the right path or the carved out path for them right away. So I went to engineering school because all my friends were doing it. In India, it's very common to either be a doctor or engineer when you choose science. So I went into engineering school, not being in love with something just because all the friends were doing it. When I came out of that, I moved to the United States right away because my parents had moved here. I started in retail because it was during the 2008 crisis. So there were
Mm.
not many jobs available for fresh off the school immigrant engineers. So I went into retail, stumbled upon there, went to business school again to find my footing, still had no clue coming out what I wanted to do. And I was just experimenting with different options on what I could do, and
Mm.
took on this job into advertising with a small local company. And that's where I started getting explored to the different sides of advertising, including media. And I think as I was putting multiple hats that you normally do in a startup world, in a small company, I was exposed to so many different aspects of it
Yeah.
that it really got me excited. And that's where I learned that, oh, I love media. I was always a math girl. I loved numbers. I loved gaming. Media felt right at home, but that's how I
Mm.
got into it. But this was when I was 27 years old. So it was not at 21, coming straight out of college, like most people expect you to do. It was my third or fourth career, and it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. But I always tell young people to not give up and
Yeah.
keep trying until they find what they do. Because when you find what you do, it's not work anymore. It's
It's
you
true.
enjoy, because more than 50% of your life you spend at work. And
Yep.
if you don't enjoy it, there's no point. So keep trying until you find that right footing, because when you do, sky's the limit and there's no stopping you.
Well, and I love how you shared I experimented, right?
Yes.
Because that is really what it is. You experiment, you try these different things. Oh, I like that. Oh no, I don't like that. And to your point, even with going into engineering, like you did it because your friends were doing it, and that gives you a great foundation, but it doesn't mean you have to stay in engineering, right? And I think that's an important message for our audience, especially if you're in a place in your life where you're figuring out what's my next stage, right, and where I want to be. Those experimentations are so important to decipher what I like and what I don't like.
Yeah, and especially not just for the kids, but also for the parents, to be
Hmm.
patient with them. I think sometimes there's so much societal pressure
Yeah.
of getting the right job, having the right degree, doing the right thing, staying on top of everything. And I was very grateful. My parents were very patient with me, very open minded too. They were like, as long as you're happy and you figure out what you want to do, that's okay. But they did not put all the external pressure that sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of young folks
Yeah.
face.
And sometimes that's internal pressure we put on
Yes,
ourselves, right?
absolutely.
Because it's like, oh, my friends are doing X and I should be this far along. And sometimes we're just not for whatever reason. There can be lots of different reasons for that.
Yep.
So so you talked a little bit about when you had your daughter and that sort of changed everything. So that comes up a lot with clients I'm talking to, women I'm talking to that are in business. So what have been maybe some of those biggest learnings you've had with how to have your career and have your family both?
Yeah, absolutely. So my daughter is my grounding force, and
Mm.
motherhood gave me a whole new lens and instincts that I didn't think I really believed in or thought they were strong for a very long time. After becoming a mother, I have the strong instincts about everything I do, or every
Mm.
choice I make, or every decision I make, because there's something deeper that is connected to
Mm.
it. It's not a random decision that leads to a random output. It's something that I put in a lot of thought, and everything I do has to take into consideration how it affects everything, including my personal life, but also the values that I believe in. Because
Mhm.
I want to make sure that when she grows up and she sees our journeys and our stories, it's something that, I'm not saying she should feel proud of, but she knows that we stood true to our values and things
Mhm.
we believed in, and didn't just compromise ourselves in the process of societal expectations.
Yeah.
So it's leading with presence, leading with empathy, and also having boundaries. I think boundaries didn't really exist for me for many years before I became a mother, but now I've been very strong about really making sure that my boundaries are in place. Nothing comes out of compromise, and also changing societal expectations and the way, I think, the old leadership model of doing everything now expecting to being 24/7, staying on top of your toes, compromising your personal life, or trying to have it all, which we all know is not realistic. So just finding a balance in this new era of modern motherhood where we want to have things, but at our own terms, and it does not need to be a copy paste of what used to be deemed as successful
Love
in
that.
the past. Yeah.
Well said. Well said, Anar. I mean, and that's so true because it's sometimes if the path hasn't been laid, we have to lay the path, right?
Exactly.
And what you just clued in on there with, having those boundaries, like when we don't have them, we are more likely to say yes to things we don't even want to do or are not in alignment with our values. And so
Exactly.
those boundaries become super, super important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So background noise. I couldn't help when you were talking about that. So how did that name come to be?
Yeah. So, as you know, Vicky, we're all three co-founders, women of color. And our name is rooted in the perspective that is often overlooked in our industry. So, one that reflects that how people of color experience the world. And our goal is to bring those real stories of who we are
Mm.
at the forefront and how we live that is often dismissed as background noise. So, we know that it's where the truth lives
Yeah.
and the richness, nuance of the stories, the culture. It's not noise, it's actually the signal. And the goal is to bring those voices to the forefront.
Wow. I love that. And today, probably more than ever, that is more important than it's ever been in our society, right?
Exactly. In the
Yeah.
middle of DEI culture cancellation and
Yeah.
all the noise that is going on, we feel like our mission and our work is more important than ever. And I'm so grateful I work with two amazing women on a daily basis that inspire me to keep working hard towards it.
Amazing. Amazing. And so some of your clients, um, like they're facing a lot today, right? Things are evolving. And we were talking about how, especially in media and advertising, like it's almost like we can't keep up, right? Like I was complaining. I was, I was discussing earlier about like, even in figuring out things like your SEO, right? If you're on social media, if you're like everything moves and evolves so fast. So what are you ladies doing to keep grounded and to keep your clients constantly evolving to meet the demands and the needs of today without losing the
Yeah.
true essence?
I think the biggest challenge, especially our industry faces, is the need to react constantly.
Yeah.
Everyone's always reacting, and we understand that it is hard, especially in the economic times that we are living in currently, where there's so much uncertainty. The consumers are feeling pressure, and
Yeah.
hence the brands are also feeling pressure. So they feel that they constantly feel the pressure to perform, and in this pressure, we often miss the point of connecting.
Hmm.
So everyone's operating from a place of pressure. They are, and this is coming, and as a result, they are not being intentional anymore because we're constantly surrounded by data, too much data sometimes, actually. And but what we is missing as part of this data is the nuance, and no one's paying attention to that nuance anymore. And as women of leadership, we are constantly navigating the spaces to bring up those nuances and get the attention towards those. The other pressure that people feel is also scaling without having that burnout.
Hmm.
So, as a small business, we often run into that ourselves, but also brands often feel that, and advertising industry is notorious for being known for burnout. So, again, going back to the values that we were talking about earlier, knowing our values, knowing what is important for us, it is something that we often discuss at our agency, and it's our number one priority in terms of making sure that that pressure is not letting the burnout, and we are still staying close to what is truly important versus letting those external factors get to us. And it's also helpful when you have the right people surrounding you to
Of course.
remind you of that versus getting sucked into it. So yeah, we try really hard, and it is our number one priority and kind of non-negotiable.
Very good, very good. And that is not easy, by the way, audience.
Yeah,
That requires a lot of intentionality, that you're
absolutely.
staying very, very focused on your values and what you're willing to say yes and no to. A couple of things that you said there, I want us to dive into a bit, because I spent many, many years in the retail industry myself, and it is a like knee jerk react. You're looking at trends, what's happening, and if you're not on the mark, you're quickly trying to adjust. And that's actually shaped a lot of the work I do today around conscious leadership, right?
Yeah,
And
yep,
teaching leaders to be more responsive versus reactionary.
yeah.
And so I'm just curious, like when those clients react, how do you help talk them off the ledge to say, give us some time here. Let's just see where things are actually going.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. We tell them to not everything deserves a reaction.
Mm,
Pay
yes.
attention, listen. I think the listening part is often missed. Listen to your consumers, listen to the trends, pay attention. There are trends like the AI boom. There was an email from the Shopify CEO 2 days ago that was trending that, hey, get on this. It's non negotiable. It will be part of your performance review. Does that deserve attention? Absolutely. Uh, but at the same time, there are other things where if you're just treating people as transactions and not as humans and not listening to them, that's where the real compromise starts coming in. We also have learned is that a lot of agencies are just saying yes to their clients to everything, and that's where some of those bad behaviors are also coming from. And I think what is probably hurting us sometimes is we are like, no, we are actually we stand by what we believe in and we put our best foot forward out there. Yes, but we also stay true to what we believe in, and hence finding that balance that clients don't brands and clients are so spoiled, not having to learn no
Mhm.
and constantly saying yes and reacting, but we are trying to operate in an opposite fashion. It's like no is okay. Here's how we should approach. Take a step back, breathe, listen, focus, and here's the right strategy and approach moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. Listening is so important. And, something you were just saying there, when people are like, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that, like that plays into trust, right? Like having that trust with you ladies, and you're the experts on media and what's happening in the marketplace, trusting, like even what's happening in the financial markets right now.
Yeah.
My advisor she sent a letter to everybody, not just to me but to everybody, and she was like, okay, everybody, just take a breath.
Yeah.
Take a breath. If you react and you sell, you lose. If
Exactly.
you slow down, listen, pay attention, this could be an opportunity, right? And so
Absolutely.
that's what I'm hearing you say, Anar, is that you and your team are keeping your clients grounded and stabilized so that they can hear what's happening beyond just the noise that's going on.
Absolutely. And the financial market is a great example because, to your point, there's so much selling happening. Everyone's overreacting. I'm not a financial expert by any means, but when you pay attention to beyond the news, actually at the depth of it, cycles are expected. And people should, and if for someone who is very seasoned, they know the cycles are expected and they know what are the right steps to take on it versus just reacting, because that's the job of the news and the media is to spread constant reaction, like to get
Fear.
those reactions out of you and to get addicted to the news, right? So it's just finding that balance between the two and knowing what to look at versus not to look at and making the right decisions
Love
accordingly.
that. Love that. So how do you ladies, like, we were talking about trust a second ago, and so building trust with your consumer base, your client base, like that's tough. So what are some of the things that you do to ensure that that trust is really embedded in all those decisions and the choices that you're making?
Yeah. I think going back to the values and
Mhm.
coming from a place of authenticity and honesty, because when you are true to your values, you come with an honest, it's not to sugarcoat something or to sell something that you don't believe in the first
Mm.
place. So if you are honest with yourself, you can be honest with others, and when you're coming from an honest place, it's easier to trust. So I
Mhm.
feel like it all kind of goes hand in hand.
Mhm.
Also, celebrating everything and not celebrating. We have, when you tell wins, people get excited, but also when a lot of storytelling has shifted where people are being honest about, hey, here's the life of a real mother, what it
Mhm.
looks like, versus the fancy Instagram feeds that we have moved away from, thank God, because
Agreed.
it was selling a life that felt so unattainable, but also at the same time
Artificial.
put such a toll on people's mental stress and
Yeah.
mental health, right? So why TikTok took off and the success it had, because it moved away from the polished Instagram version. So it's just the authenticity coming from a place of realness, being honest about what you truly believe in, and being honest with people and not trying to sell for the sake of selling. I think that's why we think we have gotten to the place we have, and I feel like that's always something we'll continue to strive for, not just staying true to our values and believe in what we do.
Awesome. Awesome. I love the example you just used there between Instagram and TikTok. And that's very true, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, when we create this artificial world, it is too much pressure, right? And we're all human. We all have human, feelings and life. Life is human,
Yeah.
having children and taking care of older parents and, having a high performing career. All of these things are a reality of what we do. And the fact is, and I'll just say it, women take on the majority of the responsibility of home. We do.
Yep. Yep.
And so it's when that picture gets painted, it's such a disillusion. And then we measure ourselves and say, oh my gosh, why am I not being, why do I not look that fantastic after I just cleaned the house and ran the kids all over the place?
Yep. Like, and that goes back to so many things, whether it's the beauty standards that have been created, or the power motherhood standards that have been created, or the power career. But that's why we always discuss the whole do it all is such a bullshit sell to you in a way. Can you do it all? Sure, but something has to compromise, and it's okay if it compromises, as long as you know that it is okay and you have made that, you're accepted that.
Yeah, your
um,
choice.
yes, it's your choice, and it's okay not to compromise, but then you know that there will be another an effect of it or impact of it some way. But making sure that you're actively making those choices versus following someone else's path, and they're your choices that you can own up to at the end of the day.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So I am going to go back to trust for a minute because I I'm a bit passionate about trust. And especially when we look at everything that's happening in our world, and there is such a lack of trust, like everybody questions everything, media,
Yep.
healthcare, everything we're questioning, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But as a media advertising guru specialist, like how, and I know we talk about values, but that trust, like there's one thing to get it, but then how do you keep it?
I think it's again the pressure often that leads to a lot of those wrong decisions, knee jerk reactions, everything that we have talked about. I think keeping the trust is not easy, but it's the consistency that and the intentionality that we discussed a second ago too. Like really making sure that it's not something a one and done time thing. You have to stay on top of it. You have to be intentional on an ongoing basis. You can't let the pressure get to you, and really making sure that you're grounding yourself and the people around you, and finding the right people around you
Hmm.
to stay in that circle of trust. But yeah, I think even after establishing trust, things change, right? Clients change, new people come and
Mhm.
go, executives come and go, brands change. So you have to, it's not something you just do one time and you move on. It's something you build on an ongoing basis. And sometimes you have to start from scratch again, despite putting in all the effort. And that's okay, because you know that at the end of the day, there will be results, because you have put in the effort that you think you believe in.
Mhm.
So I think it's just making sure you're staying on top of it, you're being consistent at it, and there will be down days where you're not letting it bring you down, and you're putting your best foot forward
Yeah.
always.
Okay. Lovely. Lovely. So I also, I love what you talk about with surrounding yourself with, I know for myself, like I am picky about the clients that I take on, right? Because sometimes you're just not the right fit, right? And that surrounding yourself with, I don't even want to say like-minded people, because I think there's a lot of power in having very different perspectives, right? But that support system you talked about, people that you trust, you can have different opinions and still trust each other,
Yeah.
especially as women in, high powered positions, women in leadership, period, who are balancing all of these things. Your support system is essential. Like if I didn't have my support system, like I don't know what I would do. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Anar, because I know you have your partners, but I'm sure, that has also played a pivotal role in helping shape you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll answer in two places. One, my partners at work, who they mean the world to me in so many different ways, and what we do at Background Noise, and how far we have come, but also working with the right partners and right people as
Mhm.
clients too, which is a number one priority and something we all agreed on from day one at Background Noise. So starting with the partners, my partners and I, we worked together for many years before, and we separated for a small second, but then came back with Background Noise. But we had been apart for so many years, so we had all grown in different ways, right?
Nice.
But when we came together, what really brought us together was the values we believed in.
Mm.
Our values were the same, our ethics were the same, our approach towards life was the same in so many ways. So that's what we wanted to bring at Background Noise. And one of the biggest things that was part of it was working with the right people, because when you don't work with the right people, that's where those stresses come in, those
Of course.
reactions come in, and we are very good about grounding each other. So if I'm spiraling in a whole different direction because something affected some news piece bit about one of us, will bring us down and be like, hey, calm down, stop, this is not the right approach, let's take a second back, let's chat, talk it out together before we come up with a solution or the right strategy for our client.
Nice.
So we are very good about catching each other and bringing us to ground and grounding each ourselves. When it comes to clients, if someone's not treating us right, or someone's not, it's reacting too much, or we definitely, that's not something we want to partner with,
Mhm.
because it affects our mental health as well
Mhm.
at the end of the day. But but we also want to be the right support system to them. So we want to make sure that we are supporting them in the best way possible and finding the solutions where they feel comfortable sleeping at night and not be overstressed either. So it's finding that balance between the two.
Nice. Nice. Love that. And so, audience, what I would say to you is if you don't have a great support system around you, find it, create it, really being intentional about that, because that's a game changer. No matter what goals or situations life is throwing at us, having that support system is so, so important. So, Anar, what's next for you, for Background Noise? What's on the horizon?
For myself personally, more boundaries, more alignment, more calmness. I'm very proud of the state of mental health I've achieved in the last few years, and it's taken a lot of effort. And it's not like, again, everything goes back to consistency and staying on top of it. So it's something I was not ready to ever compromise or let loose of. It's something that will always stay priority for me, because when my mental health is strong, I'm a better mother, a more present partner at home too. In terms of Background Noise, and advertising space particularly, I feel like it's time for a reckoning of some sorts. I feel like we are finally moving away from an area of vanity metrics, lots
Mm,
of impressions, a lot of talks, but no action. So I
mm,
feel like accountability is starting to matter more and more every single day. Consumers are paying more attention to what brands stand for. They're
mhm.
not just buying products, they are buying experiences. They are supporting
Absolutely.
brands who truly believes in their values and systems that they strongly feel about. And really making brands need to again stop treating people like transactions and treat them like people and create those human experiences that they feel heard and valued, because when they will feel listened, they will start feeling seen. And it's really making sure that those experiences come to the forefront. So yeah, advertising space again always keeps us on our toes, why I love it in the first place. But really making sure that we are continuing to stay human through all the madness, and treating people as people, and as background noise, we are always people first, and
Love it.
that will be our priority.
Love it. And so where can people find you?
We are on our website. It's backgroundnoise.co. We are on LinkedIn, pretty strong on LinkedIn as background noise. But yeah, we're still a small company, dabbling here and there. But yeah, around a few people.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your journey. I think you highlighted a number of things that are really important messages for our audience, talking about boundaries, the support system, being intentional and consistent, no matter what you're doing, whether it's advertising, whether it's engineering, whether it's being a full-time mom, like all
Yeah,
of those principles apply. And you know, you've shared a lot today, which I think is very important. Experiencing, like really experiencing different things to figure out what you like and what you don't like. I think that's huge. And that's the beauty of life, I think, also.
yeah. I think one of the books I read recently was The Five Regrets of the Dying. And I think
Mm.
I really enjoyed it just because I think everyone probably at some point has the midlife crisis and figure out what they want to do or how they want to live. And I think it just makes you more intentional about how you're approaching life versus just living through it for the
Oh,
sake
I
of it.
love that. Hmm.
So I think after reading that book, it was like a very intentional approach towards life in general, but something I had been working towards, but it was very eye opening in a way that you don't want to have real regrets when you're dying, and you can be way more intentional about how you're going through your life versus just
That's
going through it.
amazing. Yes, you're right. Actually, it's funny you say that because I had a woman on the podcast just recently who had gone into a coma and was in for a while, and she talked about that when she came out of the coma, things were so much more clear to her, and her intention
Yeah.
was like all these things that I wish I could have done. She's like written 10 books since then,
Wow.
right? But that, to your point, that was her positioning on that don't wait, don't hope that somebody's going to put it in your lap. Like, go make it happen and be very intentional with what you're wanting to accomplish.
Absolutely. That's amazing. I'm so happy she's out of it.
Me
But
too. She's a
it's
beautiful,
amazing how
beautiful
much she
human
has to
being.
share with the world now. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you, Anar. This has been so lovely having you join us today, and keep doing great work at Background Noise. And audience, you know now where to find her, backgroundnoise.co, right? Okay, I just want to make sure I emphasize that. So if you have questions about advertising or you're looking for somebody to help you with your advertising, now you know how to reach out to Anar. You can also find her on LinkedIn. And I want to take a moment and thank you for joining us. We know you have a choice, and we really are super grateful that you chime into the Women in Leadership Talk podcast and listen to these great stories that we have from such a variety of women from around the world. That means everything to us. So don't forget to leave us a review and share this episode with someone who needs to hear this message today. And by the way, we do have a free quiz for you on the Will Empowered. It's willempowered.com website. You can take our free leadership quiz and find out how you're showing up in the world. It gives you all kinds of great insight. So take a few minutes, just go on and take that free quiz and see see how you're doing as a leader. So thank you, Anar. Thank you, audience. Super grateful for you. And we'll see you on the next Women in Leadership Talk podcast. Take care, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for WIL Talk, sponsored by Women in Leadership Empowered. To learn more about our programs, please visit www.willempowered.com. We look forward to seeing you in our community.